Hey, welcome back. I'm Ferrikster, here to bring you some more Pokemon Go Battle League battles. These battles are played in the Ultra League. And yeah, still playing the same team. So I had a rough go at it on Friday when I was streaming. I had a tremendous negative day. I think I lost like 150 points. And Saturday I kind of seesawed around. Didn't really have too much activity. So, you know, it was a rough 2 days. But you know, I recovered a little, and these games are starting off. I think I'm starting this set at like 27.5 or so. And I think it's important to just remind everyone that, you know, everyone has a bad day every now and again. Like, it's fine. It's not a big deal. It doesn't mean that your team doesn't work anymore. It doesn't mean necessarily that the meta has shifted away from under you and that you don't have any play. You know, sometimes you're going to have a bad day. It's just important to stay focused on, you know, your mechanics and your fundamentals. Just make sure that you're playing the game well. And, you know, if your team is good, if it was good before, it's probably good now. And there's no need to abandon your team just because you have 1 or 2 bad days. Like, Friday was pretty rough. Saturday was pretty rough. But then Sunday came around and it was just, you know, I just got slightly different leads. I was a little more focused. I played a little bit better, and I was able to climb back up to where I was and get past where I had been. So, you know, overall, I've been using this team very consistently for Ultra League. I've been playing Ultra Premier only, and I've only really been playing this team except for minor deviations when I'm streaming, if someone requests something, because that's just part of showmanship. And, yeah. I've moved, I think I entered Ultra League at around 2400-ish, and I'm going to end this video at like 28.5. So a 450 point gain over the course of the first week of Ultra. And yeah, I mean, I'm satisfied with that. I think that is pretty decent performance. You know, not demanding anything more of this team. I know it's a very balanced team, and I know it's pretty strong against most things. It kind of struggles against some Pokemon like XL Ferrothorn can be kind of tough, but overall, yeah, pretty satisfied with it, and I've been having a great run. So, yeah, let's hop into this next game. So, second match up against Trogdor, 89-89. Still opening Gelatin, and my opponent is opening Gengar. So this is a pretty decent matchup for Gelatin. The confusions do such tremendous damage. Gengar gets the Shadow Punch at 5 Shadow Claws, so typically if they don't switch out after 1 Shadow Claw or instantly, they'll switch out after they throw that Shadow Claw. So, you know, just be prepared to throw out an extra confusion. The confusion damage gets transferred. My opponent transfers it onto this Kingdra. I throw a Leaf Blade to get a shield, and now I switch out into a Scavalier. Because a Scavalier doesn't really have an amazing matchup against Gengar, so right off the bat, since the lead was Gengar, you know, if they switch to something and I could use a Scavalier there, I'd toss a Scavalier out, just so that I don't have to worry about alignment later. So, since Gelatin will beat Gengar, and since Swampert will beat Gengar, I don't really have to be too concerned about that. I managed to get to this drill run and get the last shield, so that's fantastic. And from here, kind of questionable what I should end up throwing out. I send out a Scavalier, get 1 confusion in. The only reason I sent out a Scav was just so that I'd be able to, you know, have the option of either close combating or leaf blading, whatever came out. And it's a Machamp in the back. So, I'm going to throw this close combat, and I probably should have thrown 1 more confusion first, because that would have, you know, I would have registered both of those, and I wouldn't have been able... He wouldn't have been able to reach a move by then. 5 counters to the first cross chop, so throwing 2 confusions in that time would have been perfectly safe. And then would have KO'd, and I would have had a completely fresh Swampert to go in. Instead, I missed one of my counts, and I ended up losing a CMP tie when I throw this Hydro Cannon to take out the Swampert. And then Gengar's in the back, but I'm still able to get to my Hydro Cannon because Swampert is damn good at getting to the Hydro Cannon, and I'm able to take that game. But I could have played that a little bit cleaner if I was just a little more... I guess, you know, now that I know the Gelatin into Machamp matchup a little bit better, it's rare that I get to just throw a close combat against it. But, yeah. Now I know. 2 confusions first. So, next up against Kirito. I saw Kirito posting on Twitter. I think he's ranked up at like 2965 or something. He's definitely a contender to be... one of the first legends, if not the first legend this season. And he's opening with XL Ferrothorn. So XL Ferrothorn is pretty strong against my team. If someone switches it into Gelatin, obviously it's no problem because a Escavalier is kind of a wall to it, but Ferrothorn is a wall to Swampert. Swampert can't even really store up a bunch of energy and still threaten. Earthquake does a little over half, but it's just not enough. And my Escavalier was met with a Talonflame, which is devastatingly bad, obviously. Brave Bird Swampert, I shield that, and I greedily overthrew a Mud Shot farther than I should have, lost CMP, and had to eat a Brave Bird with my Swampert. So this matchup is not going great. Swampert doesn't need that much health, but if I was going to be that low, I really should have at least thrown a few extra Mud Shots and built up some more energy before I Hydro Cannon to take out the Talonflame. Because the only way I can really kill this Ferrothorn is by hitting it with a close combat. So I ended up shielding this Mirror Shot. I should have shielded the first move because it was overwhelmingly likely going to end up being the Power Whip. And I mean, at this point, the game was already over. He still had a shield. I could have thrown something. But unless I was going to be able to get to a Leaf Blade and a close combat, there was just going to be no way. I throw my Hydro Cannon against this to remind myself of exactly how much it does, because I might need to know that information later. And then I exit the game before my Swampert has to get pummeled anymore. But yeah, GG to my opponent. XL Ferrothorn is expensive, and it's tough to deal with this team. Sincerely apologize to anyone who encounters it and has trouble. You know, every team has a weakness. That's one of mine. So I switch in my Escavalier, and my opponent switches into Alteria, which isn't really an amazing Escavalier counter. I probably could have shielded this Sky Attack, because it really does do quite a bit of damage. I'm going to end up throwing this Mega Horn, and if the Alteria shields, I will end up, you know, giving up switch advantage here. Trying to reach my Drill Run, but I don't quite make it. Drill Run wouldn't have been enough at this point anyway, and I send in Gelatin. This Alteria has a ton of energy already, so I'm going to shield here, shield this first Sky Attack. I'm trying to just Confusion down, and that was a mistake. I probably should have just thrown my Leaf Blade to take it out. I ended up no-shielding the Sky Attack because I honestly thought I would survive it. I haven't encountered a ton of XL Alteria, but yeah. It's not terrible because a NineTails with Charm would you know, Gelatin would get charmed down really quickly anyway. Wouldn't be able to get a ton of utility out of him. So I wanted to instead just save my shield for Swampert, see if maybe the thing that he has in the back is weak to Swampert, then this game can totally be salvaged. I'm going to be able to either get the last shield or take out a Alolan Ninetales here, and what is in the back? It's an Umbreon. So Umbreon is not actually that great against Swampert. Swampert and Umbreon can go more or less even. Like, you're going to see how much a Foul Play does. It takes 3 Foul Plays to take out Swampert, and it takes about 4 Hydro Cannons, and you get to the 4th Hydro Cannon before Umbreon will get to the 3rd Foul Play. But I mean, I came in way too low, and he still has a shield. I just wanted to double check to see how much the Foul Play would do, because this is how I learn. I don't really run a lot of Sims, and yeah, then I can exit that game. But yeah, tough team comp for me. Sometimes that's going to happen. So, XL Bronzong in the lead. Confusion is double resisted, so it does absolutely nothing to Bronzong. So I switch out into Swampert. I tend to use Swampert as my safe swap more often, just because something like a Shadow Machamp can really just punch its way through a Escavalier a lot more easily. Swampert, I usually will have a little bit more play on being able to force switch advantage. Could have shielded that first cross chop, and also if I had thrown the Earthquake first and it had been no shielded, then I would have just been able to Mud Shot down. As that was not the way it happened. I'm gonna send so this Machamp has a ton of energy. Because I snuck into Confusion, I'm just going to be able to absorb 1 move, and then my Confusion will register and take him out. I switch in my Escavalier to absorb that Confusion, and it's a Swampert in the back. So this is okay. I have 2 shields. I make a mistake here, which is not shielding. I should probably have just double shielded my Escavalier and thrown 2 Drill Runs, because 2 Drill Runs... the first one would be shielded, but because of all of the counters I would have to throw to get to the 2 Drill Runs, 2 Drill Runs plus all of the counters would have been enough. Could have double shielded. I don't really need an extra shield for Bronzong. Escavalier would have been able to absorb Bronzong's charge moves so much better.
I'm really close to being able to or not being able to get to my next charge move. So I'm going to throw one counter and then throw the Drill Run and then switch over to Gelatin to transfer the confusion onto Gelatin. So this Bronzong is at a ton of energy. I'm going to shield here because I need to throw my close combat. Bronzong is out of shields. So I'm going to land this neutral close combat, and it is going to do a decent chunk of damage, but not quite enough. And thankfully, that was a CMP tie that I won. So I'm going to absorb this Psyshock, and now Escavalier just needs to get to the Drill Run, and I can take this game. I really thought I was going to survive that last confusion, but I did not, so I went down. But yeah, that was a really close game. GG to my opponent. So that was a 2 out of 5 set. Not amazing. I started this at 2778, and I dropped 8 points down to 2770. Probably because Kirito, one of the matches that I lost, he was so far ahead of me in score, it didn't damage my elo that much. That's how that works. So next up, against a Charizard in the lead. Most of the Charizards that have been in the lead lately have been running Dragon Breath. This guy's team is actually insane, and we'll get to that a little bit later. I throw the close combat, and then I switch out to my Swampert. I figured this would be fine. You know, I'm sure he has something in the back that will be pretty good against Swampert, some kind of a grass type. So I didn't shield, just absorb the Blast Burn, and it's a Ferrothorn in the back. So this Ferrothorn isn't that XL. It's at 2395, which is still pretty XL, but it's not all the way there. So that's how much my Earthquake does. Hits for neutral on a not that XL'd Ferrothorn. I get in some extra mud shots, but I'm not going to shield this anyway. Absorb the Power Whip. I thought there was a decent chance it would end up being a mirror shot, but did not happen. And now I send a Escavalier out, and I'm able to counter down before I absorb that. Charizard is already pretty damaged, and it doesn't even have a Fire-type fast move, but there's a Talonflame in the back, so I'm going to throw this Drill Run right before the second Incinerate lands, and I transfer that Incinerate damage onto Gallade. I'm able to throw 2 Confusions because he throws one more Incinerate, and that's 5 turns, so I'm able to sneak in 8 turns of fast move. He transfers one of them onto Charizard, which goes down with a decent chunk of energy. Talonflame comes back out, but now it's lost its attack buff. Throws 2 Incinerates, and I'm going to throw my Leaf Blade. He should be at his next move here, and he does throw it. So this Flame Charge comes out, but now he's only single buffed again. He throws 1, throws a second, and I throw this close combat right before the second Incinerate lands. I get the last shield, goes down. He has to throw 1 more Incinerate before he's able to throw his next move, but I get to my Drill Run first, and I'm able to throw that out. Drill Run hits for just single resisted, and it's able to take out Talonflame. Escavalier taking out Talonflame is... that was a crazy team. Charizard in the lead and Talonflame in the back. Oh my gosh. I'm not too sure how he deals with a Swampert opening. Probably stay in with Charizard, and that's probably why Charizard has Dragon Breath there. So, next up against a Shadow Nidoqueen in the lead. They switch out to Scrafty, and that's fine with me. I'm going to send in a Escavalier. Everything on my team has pretty decent play against Nidoqueen, but obviously Swampert is probably the strongest matchup there. So I send out a Escavalier. And I'm going to throw this Drill Run. Since Scrafty was going Power Up Punch, they're more likely to want to maintain their Scrafty. So I no-shield the first one, and I'm just going to no-shield the second one also. Even if it's a foul play, I just don't care. I don't need to win Switch Advantage here because both of my Pokemon will be fine against Nidoqueen. So I go down, and this Scrafty has a decent chunk of energy. This could be the foul play, so I'm just going to shield it. And it is yet another Power-Up Punch, so... that's all right. I'm going to throw this Leaf Blade because by now I have completely lost track of energy. I wasn't really counting during this matchup, and I really should have. And Nidoqueen comes out. So Nidoqueen actually, when it's locked in against Gallade, isn't actually that bad. Like, the Poison Fangs do quite a lot, and the he catches my Leaf Blade on Obstagoon, which is definitely a win condition for him. But as I was saying, Nidoqueen does hurt Gallade, and I can't just stay in there in Confusion down and no shield, because you just take too much damage. So I switch in Swampert over here right before Obstagoon is able to get to his first charge move, because otherwise he would throw his charge move in the middle of Gallade's Confusion and take me out, and I definitely don't need that. So I am out of shields, but this is okay. I throw the Hydro Cannon first, and now I'm throwing the Earthquake. Another Hydro Cannon wouldn't quite take him out, and I'm not in a position where I can Mud Shot down. And yeah, Nidoqueen comes out, and at this point I just have too much health. A Poison Sting plus the Poison jabs wouldn't be enough, and my opponent recognizes that and resigns the game before his Nidoqueen gets KO'd, because that's the kind thing to do. It's not, sometimes you don't want your Pokemon to get pummeled for no reason. So next up, against Ilsemy. Having a little lag in the beginning, and that's always fun. Toxicroak lead. Gallade obviously can take out Toxicroak in like 4 confusions. So my opponent switches out right away to Snorlax, and I'm going to send out a Scavalier. Swampert has a pretty good matchup against Toxicroak, so if I can send a Scavalier out into whatever he switches in, I will definitely do so. So switch doesn't really matter here because both of my Pokemon have a fine matchup against Toxicroak. My opponent, unfortunately for me, doesn't fight for a switch advantage. I would have preferred that he did. And I stored up a decent amount of energy, so I'm able to just barely get to this drill run before Toxicroak takes me out. So this Tox has a decent chunk of energy, but he's going to no-shield this drill run because Gallade is going to come out and a Confusion will take out Toxicroak anyway. So he doesn't really need to maintain health on Toxicroak. He's just going to save 2 shields for whatever's in the back and hope that it's able to sweep Gallade plus the Pokemon in the back. So it is a Dragonite. Thankfully, he switched out and transferred a Confusion onto Dragonite. It's tough to hurt Dragonite with this team. So I throw one more Confusion and then switch out to to my Swampert. I was hoping that this would get him into Mudshot and Hydro Cannon range, but he's not quite there. He's a little bit above that. I'm just going to shield both of these Dragon Claws. I would obviously survive one, but I'm just going to shield them both anyway to put myself into a no-shield situation. Because I just need to get like a Hydro Cannon out and then maybe a tiny bit more of something. I throw this Hydro as soon as I have. Our switch timers are almost up at this point, and I'm anticipating he's going to try to make some kind of a catchy switches out just a little bit too early. I'm able to Mudshot that down. Complete missed opportunity to BM my opponent here. I could have thrown the Earthquake, and that would have been fine, but I just throw the Hydro Cannon. This was a really close game. And I wasn't even positive Swampert was going to survive that, but he did, and I'm able to take out this Dragonite and managed to take that game. GG. So, next up, against Namusan. I remember this game. I glitch out in the middle. My game literally just crashes. Sometimes that happens at the beginning of a game when you're about to jump in. And if you get in fast enough, you can get back into your battle, but your opponent will have been fast-moving you the entire time. So I come in to see a Stunfisk, and based on how much damage my Gallade has taken, it looks like the Stunfisk has over 100 energy by this point. So I throw the close combat, and I will try to switch out to catch the move on a Scavalier, but it doesn't quite work. So I'm just going to no-shield, hoping that it was maybe a Rock Slide, and it was an Earthquake. Send out Swampert. And I'm going to build up like some excess energy. I'm going to have to shield here. I'm assuming this is an Earthquake, and it is. And I want to maintain a little bit of health on Swampert because he's, you know, one of the only 2 Pokemon that I have left. My opponent has an unknown amount of energy and, you know, 2 Pokemon in the back that I haven't seen. So throw this Hydro Cannon and take out the Stunfisk. We're at the 1 shield. There's a Venusaur in the back. I switch out to a Scavalier, and this opponent has switched into Poliwrath. This is a visual glitch. There's a Poliwrath there. You can see in the top right. And yeah, the Poliwrath insta-threw a Dynamic Punch, and now it throws an Ice Punch. So what that actually means is this game started off with Poliwrath into my Gallade, and rather than switch out, my opponent stayed in, farmed up a ton of energy, and then switched out to G-Fisk to start farming even more energy, you know, anticipating I would get back into the game, and he wanted to have 100 energy on 2 Pokemon to make sure he could contend with whatever it is that I had in the back. So, I don't know. It's like, obviously, that's the best way to set yourself up to, you know, to put yourself in the most winningest position against an opponent that has had a game crash in the beginning. But yeah, it definitely kind of feels like, you know, a little bit of a dirtbag move to take advantage to that degree. But this was probably going to be a mostly lost game anyway. Actually, if I had managed to maintain alignment, like if I had recognized that my opponent had farmed and then switched out, could have switched out to Swampert, and Swampert would have been able to be a better wall to G-Fisk's energy. So maybe I'll start doing that next time my game crashes and I end up totally screwed in the beginning. Maybe I'll just assume, based on fast move damage, that my opponent has loaded and swapped. Because that might, you know, that might have actually been enough. If I had switched to Swampert and maintained alignment, because Gallade is a pretty decent wall to Poliwrath's energy anyway. But yeah, moving on, because, you know, don't let it upset you. It can definitely be exasperating. You can sigh pretty hard, but don't get upset. It's fine. It's just, it's the state of the game right now, and it's not great, but it's what we've got until Niantic, you know, releases their next update and fixes it. So I played this Gelatin matchup differently than I normally do. I no-shield the first one, and it's a Bubble Beam, and then I no-shield the second one, and it was the Shadow Ball. They have tended to throw Bubble Beam followed by Shadow Ball. That has been the general order that I've seen. But I didn't really mind because I knew I could bring in Swampert and just absolutely load up on energy. So because they're staying in and letting me farm them, tells me they probably have one decent answer in the back and one not great answer. But then a Galvantula came out, and I recognized that, you know what, they actually don't have any good answer to Swampert in the back. So I've already been debuffed once, so I'm throwing these two Hydro Cannons, and it's not quite going to be enough to take them out. My opponent shields here, I get in one more Mud Shot, and they're throwing this Lunge as soon as they have it. So I'm going to shield here. I would obviously survive the Lunge, but I mean, I have two shields, and my opponent clearly doesn't have an amazing answer to Swampert. I'm also not going to switch out to a Scavalier, because if it's something like a Talonflame in the back, I don't want them to be able to farm up energy on a Scavalier. So I'm just staying in with Swampert, double shielding if I have to, and I'm able to, you know, Mud Shot down that Galvantula, have energy, and yeah, managed to take that game. So 4 out of 5 set could easily have been a 5 out of 5 set if I didn't have my game crash, followed by my really fun visual glitch. That was one of the glitchiest matches I've played in, I think, ever. But yeah, sometimes that just, it's gonna happen, but that's all right. Go up to 2809. This is a season high for me, breaking the 2800 barrier. And yeah, so next up, Gelatin to Toxicroak. Fantastic lead. They'll either switch out right away or throw one counter and switch out, transfer the damage onto their Gyarados. I prefer that they did that, actually, because that means that I'm ahead of the Gyarados on energy. So I'm going to throw this Leaf Blade, and I get a shield. And since I've gotten a shield, I'm going to switch out to a Scavalier who will be able to absorb this Dragon Breath damage a lot better. I'm going to no-shield this first move, and it is an Aqua Tail. And yeah, from Shadow Gyarados, that honestly does quite a bit. He's able to get to his second one. And I'm going to shield here, try to get shields down before I come out. Thing is, this Gyarados isn't quite in farm down range for Gallade yet. I figure at this point he's probably going to want to fight for Switch Advantage, because Switch Advantage really matters, because Gallade is such a wall to Toxicroak. And I could shield here and throw the... could easily have shielded there and thrown the Mega Horn to take him out. But I figured, you know, let me save a shield, see what else is in the back. So now I have a shield for Gallade. I'm going to throw this Close Combat against this XL Hundo Umbreon, and it does just over 50% damage because Umbreon is such a tank. And then I switch out to Swampert, and this is fine because Swampert also has a fine matchup against Toxicroak. I end up shielding this Mud Bomb anyway, even though I knew it was a Mud Bomb. It's just, it does slightly more damage than the Foul Play will do. And I'm not in double Foul Play range, so if I just shield that, nothing else will really matter at this point. My opponent's not in Leaf Blade range yet. I'm almost certain I could have Earthquaked him here and taken him out, but I opted to throw double Hydro Cannon here instead. I don't know why. It was making me nervous when his damage was coming out, and I was like, all right, well, I definitely need to at least throw one Hydro Cannon so he's in Leaf Blade range, and it was fine. My opponent stopped attacking, which told me they were going to leave the game, so I just fast moved until it registered that he left, so we didn't have to sit through the charge move animation. I'm so considerate. GG. All right, next up, against Ruipoke. Gallade into NineTails. So this is fine if it's not Charm, and it is Powder Snow. Most of them are. I'm going to stay in here. My opponent throws his first Weather Ball at exactly 5, so as soon as he's got it, get half a Confusion for free. He sneaks in a fast move, so that's okay. I guess he's one Powder Snow away from his next charge move. Throws 2, and I get in a free Confusion, so I'm going to shield here. At this point, I can just throw one Confusion and then a Leaf Blade. He switches to catch it on Jellicent, which is not a great receptacle for Gallade's energy, to be honest. I throw a second Confusion for absolutely no reason. Oh my gosh, I could have just thrown the Leaf Blade and gotten a shield or taken Jellicent out. This is not an amazing situation to be in. Gonna send out Swampert. Gelatin has a decent amount of energy, and I'm gonna use my last shield here because I was almost positive they were gonna throw the Shadow Ball, because you would always assume your opponent wouldn't want to go down 2 shields, certainly before you see what's in the back. But I already know Swampert is my best answer to Gelatin, so I'm going to try to retain him a little bit longer by shielding that first Shadow Ball. End up getting hit with another Shadow Ball, and that's all right. My opponent switches out to Politoed, which still has 2 shields, so my only real win condition at this point is to land an Earthquake. If I don't land this Earthquake, I'm pretty much dead. I switch out to a Escavalier anyway, just to see how much my counters can do. Haven't encountered a ton of these XL Politoads. This one is shiny, so it probably doesn't have perfect stats, but it might, because it's at 24.99. I don't know. But no shielding because I'm out of shields, and that's unfortunate. I take the second Weather Ball, and this third one comes out just as I'm getting to my my next drill run, and yeah, that's enough for me. I'm just going to resign that game. That is tough. I don't know why I didn't throw my Leaf Blade. That was a terrible play. Sometimes you just make weird miscalculations in the heat of battle, though. It's okay. So my opponent swaps out into Talonflame to catch this Leaf Blade, which is wild. I'm going to throw 1 Confusion and then switch out, and that's a mistake. I was supposed to throw 2 Confusions and switch out. Throw my Hydro Cannon here around the end of his animation. And because I didn't throw 2 Confusions, it doesn't KO. Needed to actually throw that second Confusion so that I could put him in to Hydro Cannon range. But that's alright, I'm just going to shield this Brave Bird because Brave Bird does devastating damage. And if Gelatin ends up coming back out, Swampert's not that bad against Gelatin. It's not a winning matchup, but it's not that bad either. So I'm going to absorb this first Shadow Ball, building up way past the Earthquake before I throw it. And my opponent shields, so that's fine with me. I'm going to throw the second Earthquake as soon as I have it, in case they've kind of lost track of energy and don't know that I'm at the Earthquake yet. And this Earthquake lands, which is fantastic, and it might have, and then my opponent just throws their charge move right away. So I'm going to absorb this Shadow Ball, that's fine, and now I'm going to send out Gallade to Confusion down. I don't want to get hit with a Bubble Beam, though, so I'm going to actually throw this Leaf Blade here. This might have been a mistake. Could have just shielded if some move came out, and but it's all good. There's a Scrafty in the back, and Escavalier is fine against Scrafty. I switch out right before he's able to reach his Foul Play, which would definitely take out Gallade, and I want him back there to kind of be able to threaten and have some flexibility. Like if I can get the last shield here, then Gallade can just throw 1 Confusion, shield, and get to his close combat. So my opponent no-shields this, anticipating that, and because he no-shielded, I've put him into counter down range, so I can just shield this, whatever it is, even if it's a power-up punch, he's not going to be able to reach another Foul Play after that. And I managed to take that game. GG. So, next up. Against El Zizzle. Alright, Gallade into Shadow Nidoqueen. Shadow Nidoqueen, one of my favorite leads with this team. He switches out right away, which is one of my favorite things to do. Actually, like, everything on my team does pretty well against Shadow Nidoqueen, so when they switch out, it means I get to have switch advantage against something else. Otherwise, Gallade kind of gets put in a position where you have to do some awkward things with deciding whether or not to shield and deciding whether or not to throw Leaf Blades or just confusioning the whole way down. So, yeah. I bring Escavalier into the Snorlax, and since I got a shield already, I'm going to shield here. End up shielding a Body Slam. But that's going to enable me to reach this next drill run. I can't actually just counter down. He'll reach his next Body Slam in that time. I've tried to do this many times. Always gets there. So just going to throw that drill run, and then Nidoqueen comes back out, and Nidoqueen is going to have to throw a move because Escavalier has immunity to resistance to poison. Poison Fang able to take me out, and now I'm going to send out Swampert because it's an even stronger answer to Nidoqueen, and there is an Obstagoon in the back, so since I was able to sneak in an extra Mud Shot because our fast moves were desynced, now I'm decently ahead on energy, and Swampert would outpace Obstagoon anyway. I'm just going to throw straight Hydro Cannons. We're in the 1-shield, so it's not really super safe for me to throw an Earthquake. Gonna throw this Hydro here, and it will definitely land. Get another Mud Shot. I'm gonna no-shield here. Absorb that Night Slash. I just want to save a shield for Nidoqueen if I have to. And I am going to Confusion Obstagoon the rest of the way down. I'm going to shield this Night Slash. Since he got the boost, it would do devastating damage. And now I am going to throw this Leaf Blade as soon as I see Nidoqueen come out. It does... Well, we don't get to see it yet, but I'll definitely be able to throw my next one. Throw this here. I'm not quite in Poison Fang range yet. It's getting awfully close, though. The Leaf Blade lands. I throw one more Confusion. My Confusion would register if he threw the Poison Fang, because I might just barely survive it, or be able to farm down with Swampert, and that wouldn't be amazing either. I get taken out, farm down with Swampert, and I have gotten to the Hydro Cannon for when Obstagoon comes back out. He sneaks in a counter, but it doesn't register because I'm able to take him down. GG to my opponent. All right. Next up, against Git Pushover. I think this is actually the last match. Gallade into a Scavalier. I have toyed around with leading a Scavalier instead of leading with Gallade just because I encountered enough Ferrothorns for it to really bother me, but I decided to stick with my team, not do that. I'm able to sneak in a Confusion here when he throws his move, and I'm not going to shield because I don't really need to. And it's an Acid Spray, so thank goodness I didn't shield. And then my opponent switches into Alteria, a Pokemon for which I don't have an amazing answer to, so I'm just going to throw one Close Combat and then switch out because I don't want to take these Dragon Breaths to my now quad debuffed Gallade. I'm going to no shield here, and the Sky Attack does quite a bit. This Mega Horn wouldn't quite KO, but it would put it into counter down range, so I'm just going to throw that either way, and I get a shield out of my opponent, so that's fine with me. Kind of tells me that my opponent wants to maintain switch advantage, so I'm going to fight for it a little bit here. I'm going to shield this Sky Attack. I built up some extra energy, and my opponent actually switches out to a Scavalier, so thankfully I didn't throw my Mega Horn right there. I have so much energy on a Scav, I want to maintain him. I throw the Drill Run and then switch out to Gallade to transfer that counter that got snuck in. So I still have an Escavalier with, I think maybe one counter shy of a Drill Run, and I can definitely get there against most Pokemon. Confusion the Escavalier down after shielding the Drill Run correctly. Alteria comes back out. I'm going to throw this Leaf Blade right away. It lands, and I'm able to throw one Confusion to take Alteria down. Alteria was very close to getting to its next move. There's a Shadow Crobat in the back, and I toyed around using Shadow Crobat in the beginning, but since it doesn't have Wing Attack and only has Air Slash, it's honestly way worse. Crobat in Ultra League is way worse than Golbat in Great League. I will just get that out there right now. That's my position. No one can change my mind. So I just need to land this Hydro Cannon, and it almost takes them out. And here you're going to see how much a Shadow Ball from a Shadow Crobat does. Not actually that much. It just kind of reinforces why Shadow Crobat not an amazing choice for Ultra League. And yeah, managed to take that game. So finishing that set with another 4 out of 5. I'm going to collect my stuff. I get a Rufflet, which is unfortunate. I don't know why we keep getting these. They are really not great. But yeah. So still running the same team. Been running it for the whole week, and I've been having a lot of success with it. So try it out. I go up to 2848, which is a stone's throw away from being, one of the people who could reach Legend first. Hopefully I'm able to push tomorrow live on stream on Monday, and yeah, hopefully I can get there. That would be fantastic. Anyway, thanks for watching. Don't forget to do the things that you're supposed to do at the ends of videos. You know what you're supposed to do at the ends of videos, so please do the things. Helps me out a lot, and I will catch you guys on the next video.